Hi, this is Tim Berkwin, host of TraderInterviews.com. This is a recent interview we did with a successful trader. More detailed interviews can be found in the interviews section of the website. While you're listening, click on the premium tab at the top of TraderInterviews.com to find out more. Thanks for taking a look and enjoy this behind-the-scenes look at how one trader makes a great living in the markets. A lot of traders seem to email us, and I hear them talking about on message boards or in their blogs that they have a tough time finding these patterns, even if it's a simple one like a cup and handle or a head and shoulders, because they never are perfect, right? They see it in a book, and you tell them, you go back and look at a chart and say, here it is, and you say, yep, there it is, I see it. But while it's happening, why do you think traders have such a tough time seeing it?
There are a couple of not easy answers, and by not easy, I mean it's not a magic bullet. So answer number one is that a lot of experience comes in very handy. I've looked at, without exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of charts. And once you do that enough, your brain kind of gets tuned into these things, and you become sort of your own best neural network for finding them. I'll also say that even though there are many pattern finders out there, and Profit Charts has a couple of nice ones built right in. It's got a built-in candlestick recognition system and a built-in what's called Profit Patterns, which smokes out any of the patterns that one might be looking for. I actually don't tend to use those, and I tend to be very particular about the patterns I'm seeking. From time to time, I'll fire those up and might find some new opportunities, but the way I find opportunities is just slogging through hundreds and hundreds of a pretty static set of charts. I've got a number of watch lists, which all total are about 1,000 different securities, and there are times when I can go through all 1,000 and not find much in the way that appeals to me, and there are other times, like recently, I found many, many good short opportunities. So it would be easy to say, well, go to the site and press this button, and it'll give you these high-quality patterns. But it really is a combination of just a lot of experience looking at the charts and going through laboriously and on a regular basis through a family of charts that you found have sufficient volume to be worth trading.
Is this homework that you do at night for an hour or two that you're looking through these charts, just thumbing through each one?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of blessed with the fact that I really rarely get bored of looking at these things, and it's something I do very swiftly. So I just kind of, press the down arrow one after the other and kind of bang through these things about one every couple of seconds. I can kind of judge whether it's worth looking at or not. Another thing I think is really helpful is just good organization. In Profit Charts, you have the ability to drag and drop symbols from list to list. And so in my own world, I've got a number of watch lists, and kind of the key 5 ones are core list, which is where the vast majority of my symbols are. There's a pair that I call bear pin and bull pin, which are places that they look kind of appealing on the bull or bear side, and I'm putting those aside as a special holding area for them. And then finally, candidates long and candidates short, and those are ones that kind of migrate out of those pins into places that trades I actually want to execute. And so in the kind of heat of battle in the middle of the trading day, obviously you're not going to go through 1,000 charts. You might want to focus on the 10 or 15 key opportunities that you've already identified. And I think having a well-ordered collection of symbols allows you to do that swiftly because you've already done the grunt work, between market hours.
And is this something where you'll look at daily charts for all of these, and if you find something interesting, maybe go shorter term to find an entry?
Usually I find daily charts are completely sufficient. That's where I base my stops on. I mean, unless I'm putting on a really big position and want to just fine-tune it to the penny, I'm happy with daily. I mean, in the trading product I use, you can look at 120 days on a minute-by-minute basis, so you can get a lot of good detail. The daily charts, and these days, like I said, I'm using 10-year daily. I think the 10-year appeals to me because it captures both bear markets that we've been through and both bull markets, the last gasp of the bubble, as well as the big climb from 2002 to 2007. So those are really good charts that kind of smoke out the best opportunities, I think.
And how many trades at any given time during the day are you comfortable having on, comfortable monitoring?
Yeah, it's a lot, and I've gotten a lot of puzzlement from my readers as to how many positions I've got. Because normally, like at this moment, I've got like 150 different positions, and there are times where I have 200 or more. I tend to be pretty consistent with their size, and I'm sure that a good number of those stocks you could pull 15 aside and say, well, these are almost all identical. What are you doing this for? But I just really like to spread those bets out very evenly because if you wake up and one of those has been bought and there's a 20% lift in the price, well, if you're short, that's not good news, but it's also not devastating. Mm-hmm. So I think that the reason I can handle so many positions is that, as I said earlier, I'm really well organized with what I'm trading, but also I'm very disciplined about kind of keeping my stops nice and fresh. So I know that your listeners will hear this recording on any given day, but today the market happened to have fallen 200 points, and so I spent a fair amount of time going through all those positions, tightening up those stops, because no matter what the market does next, I'd like to lock in as much profit as I can. If the market keeps falling, that's fine. I'll just keep ratcheting those down. But I don't rely on any trailing stop or anything percentage-based. It's all customized to the penny for each and every security.
So do each of those positions, the 150, even 200 at some time, do they have standing orders in the system for stops and profit targets?
Yes to the first and no to the second. So as far I'm very dedicated to having a stop on every single position at all times. The whole idea of a mental stop is just anathema to me. They must have stops the moment the trade is on. As far as the target price, no, that basically never happens. I don't really have a preconceived notion as to how far a trade might necessarily go. When I'm going through the charts, updating the stops, I may just as easily reach a conclusion that, this is traveled far enough that I'm not comfortable with the risk-reward ratio anymore. I'll just go ahead and take my profits.
So you have an idea going in what you think you'd like to gain out of it. I mean, is it something where you're kind of mentally determining your risk-to-reward ratio on each of these?
Yeah, and that I think is one of the things I find so appealing about trading on the short side, because as a trader, one thing I've had great difficulty with is if you buy a stock that, let's say it's only been out for a few months, and let's say it breaks to a new high at $15, you don't know if that stock will climb to $300 one day. There's just no way to tell. That's where I think the fundamentalists can really hold sway over the technicians, because when you're dealing with a bull market, and which has a lot of opportunity for upside, having a sense as to where the earning strength is and where the strong management, strong products, that's where a person can have a real advantage. On the bear side, the cards are sort of all laid out on the table, because you have in front of you those areas of support that you think the price is likely to fall to. And so it's kind of like getting the answer sheet to a test. I mean, if you know how to read it, the answer's already there.
Sounds like you advocate doing both, chart reading and watching the news, watching announcements, earnings, that sort of thing.
Well, I'm a chart advocate, and I actually, mentioning earlier about the fundamentals, that's something that I'm not practiced in, nor am I particularly drawn to. So I can trade on the bull side in terms of be they new highs or really good patterns, but where I fall short is anticipating, how far can this go? So my point is that on the long side, it's very hard for me to make a prediction in terms of a chart's potential, whereas on the short side, it's